Okay, we are recording live. Just dropped off this grumpy old guy. And there's a number of things besides did all 437 subscriber bots that actually got a couple of comments on some videos, which I thought was kind of unique, kind of weird. And there's the cops. Woohoo! And they just drove away. They didn't pull me over for my LEDs, huh? Okay, cool. I'll just go mosey on over here and get on the freeway. Anyway, besides a lot of the local Yoko stupid shit that's going on, bad drivers, these guys are driving at 60 to 70, 80 miles an hour in the fog. We had one guy went on the left-hand side of the road and went through a red light just to get past all of us. There was about 4 of us with a big rig, and yeah, that was something. Guy took off like a bat out of hell, and still had to stop at some red lights. So I flashed my lights at him to troll him out. I mean, they're just idiots. These 9-to-5ers, these ham and eggers, are in a big hurry to go nowhere at friggin' 4 in the morning. So anyway, we got this guy, God, what the hell is his name? I'm trying to remember your name, dude. A guy called Meat Hook. He is a subscriber, and he saw a number of my videos about Army Rangers, fake Navy SEALs, stolen valor, documentation on stolen valors. And he says, you know, I know National Guard units have a blanket of men from different services and different backgrounds and different units. He asked me, are there any Army Rangers that served in your company, National Guard company? And I said, well, let's see. So your answer is, if you're watching this video, the answer is yeah. I said, when I first got in the unit way back in the day, when probably majority of you guys, subscribers and subscriber bots, were even born, or even their mama and daddies were little kids. Back in the 80s, I had, there was some Vietnam veterans that was in our unit. So when I got in there, these guys, you know, they weren't 40 and 50-year-old guys. These guys were in their 20s. And these guys, some of these guys had CIBs. They had combat patches. We had some, wow, look at that guy. I'm going 62, and this fucking clown right here is driving about 80 with a bunch of ladders on the top of his truck. That just tells you the mentality of these fucking ass wipers. So, yeah, so we even had a Green Beret, actually, from Vietnam, was actually in our unit. And he was an E3. Yeah, he kept getting bust down. This guy, he was a bad boy. He drank a lot when he got in the company, and they just kept on busting him down all the time. So when I met him, he was an E3. So as for Army Rangers, we had, no, at the time, we didn't have any Army Rangers. We had a 101st Airborne guy with a CIB. He didn't have any jump wings, so. We had a 4th Infantry guy with a CIB. We got a 1st Cab guy with a CIB. So, at the time, we didn't have any Rangers, and of course, the ex-Green Beret, and he had a CIB with jump wings. But we did have one guy that was in my platoon, an E5. He served in a Ranger company, but he didn't have a tab. He wasn't tabbed out. So, oh man, wow, what's with these potholes? Whoa, jeez. So this guy, he didn't have any tabs. So after being in the unit for a couple years, the 4th IED guy decided he'd get out, and he never came back, never saw him again. The Special Forces guy, Richard Payne, or Rick, he had enough and he got out. I think he got out as an E2, and he didn't really care. And we didn't have any Rangers at the time until roughly about 1986. In 86, we had a guy named Gonzalez. We call him Speedy Gonzalez, of course. And Speedy was, he served 5 years with the Big Red 1. He decided he wants to join the National Guard. And this guy was lean, man. If there was ever a Latino that was lean, this guy was lean. And he was a E5, an E5 from the Big Red 1. And it was a few months, about a year after he got in the unit, he came up to us because he was in our platoon. I was in 1st squad, he was in 4th squad. He says, hey, I put in for Ranger school and it actually got approved. I said, oh wow, dude. I said, fucking Ranger school, dude. That's fucking badass. So, inside the National Guard back then, it was nearly impossible to get a school for anything. You had ANOC, BNOC, you had, all the leadership courses up in Utah, but schools like airborne school, all that stuff, no, almost non-existent. I never even seen it during my lifetime. And I can tell you about the air assault guy in a minute. So Gonzalez, he's like, yeah, man, I got approved to go to Ranger school. So basically, he got a Ranger handbook and he started training up on himself. So whenever we go to field drills for the next 2 months, he would go out there with his Ranger handbook and he'd be reading it, and he'd be doing stuff that doing tasks that doesn't require a lot of equipment to do. And like I said, a couple drills later, he was gone. We're like, we don't know what happened to him. And we didn't see that guy for months, for a long time. And it was by summer camp. Because I think the Ranger course was like 76 days. So, yeah, the next time we saw Gonzalez was about a month and a half before AT. And yep, he was wearing a Ranger tab, came back. He had no jump wings. He was a leg Ranger. That means those guys would jump in or whatever to their doing their thing. This guy was trucked in. And we went, what the hell? And there he was, Speedy Gonzalez with a Ranger tab. I was like, oh my God, that's freaking cool, dude. And of course, naturally, we asked him about it. He says, it was a ball buster. He says, it was a ball buster. He says he got no sleep. He's always tired, always hungry. you know. And he said he enjoyed it. He didn't get peered out or anything like that, so. And of course, you know, he showed us his certificate, and he showed us the general orders. His orders with all the people that was awarded a Ranger tab, and he was on there with his Social Security. So he was the only leg ranger I've ever met that actually went through Ranger school, graduated, who was not airborne qualified. So I thought that was really, really cool. So, you know, there's your answer, dude. We have one guy, Gonzalez, who's a leg ranger. And he was in the unit till about 98. After we did our second rotation to Germany, came back and he decided that he had enough. And, you know, he had a really good civilian job and these long rotations, because he ended up doing 2 rotations to Germany with us. And his annual AT was, you know, 2 weeks at a time. And his job, you know, his job was really important to him. So he says he called it a day. He had about 18 years in. So, and we lost contact with him too afterwards, you know. We never saw him again. I'm assuming after 9/11 he might have rejoined to get his last 2 or 3 years in before he can retire. Good guy though, pretty funny. And the only other guy that got any kind of school, and that was fucking Sergeant Norton. Dumbass. One of the laziest guys in the unit. And hook by crook, he managed to convince his friend, who was help running headquarters company, to try to see if he can get him a slot to go to air assault school. Well, he gave it to him. He hooked it by crooked it, and that guy failed on the first day. And they sent him home. Air assault school. Oh, that guy was useless. And then there was Alburez. Alburez, well, he was National Guard all his life. He did a deployment to Utah, Noble Eagle. He went to Egypt, and then he went to Iraq, and he managed to get a slot to go to airborne school, and he came back with jump wings. 5 jump. Other than that, nope. I saw a lot of guys go to all the leadership courses, but that was it. So that's to answer your question about that. That's what I see. And no, I didn't see no Special Forces guys. I didn't see any Pathfinder guys. We never had a guy with a long tab in the company while I was there. We had 2 ex-Special Forces guys, but this is before they awarded the long tab. That was Payne, and the other guy was Casasso. And he was our first sergeant. He was an ex-Green Beret from Vietnam. And he was big, overweight, but, you know, he was okay. But long tabbers, we didn't have any. And the only other ranger we had, and that was Staff Sergeant Flores. And Staff Sergeant Flores, he came from the 82nd Airborne. And he was in Panama, Desert Storm, and he also did Iraq. And he got his Ranger tab while he was in the 82nd Airborne. So the guy had double CIB. So anyway, that is your question, Hua. And they were pretty high speed. You know, most of those guys are pretty high speed. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot about Puntalski. Oh, I forgot about that guy. Yeah, we had a guy that was kicked out of the Ranger Battalion. He was an E4, promotable to corporal, and he got kicked out of his Ranger Battalion. He did some shit. This guy was a loose cannon. And he was an E4, and he had a Ranger tab, jump wings, he had an EIB. He turned around and decided to join the National Guard out of complete disgust at being kicked out of a Ranger Battalion. And the guy was just an asshole. Mr. Puntowski ends up in 2nd Platoon. Yep. So they had a Ranger tab, you know, and everybody respected that Ranger tab. That's for damn sure. The guy himself was an asshole. He had all that cool training, but he was just a dick. And he was constantly in trouble with our unit all the time. He would come in fucking drunk, or he'd pick fights with people. Real loose cannon. Then he got arrested roughly about a year after he was in the unit. About a year and a half, he got arrested for domestic violence on his wife. National Guard said, no way, no how, dude. He got booked. So the National Guard waited, and he got convicted of it. He didn't do jail time, but he got a convicted domestic. And guess what? National Guard kicked him out. They said, nope, you're done, dude. You got now you got a criminal fucking record. You got a yeah, so that's, you know, when you get one of those, if you can no longer, you're like a felon, like a class 4 felon or something like that, or the lowest felon you can get, and you cannot be around guns. And since National Guard's all about guns, guess what? Nope. So they kicked him out. No more Puntowski. And the last heard about that guy was about 13 years ago. 12, 13 years ago. It's 2024 now. Yeah. Right around there, I heard that guy he's been in and out of jail. So, what a fall from grace, man. He could have went somewhere in the National Guard. He would have got his Z5 because he had that Ranger tab. You know, if he played the game long enough, you know, he could have done some other shit, but no. Apparently not. So, too bad for Mr. Puntowski. It's fucking crazy. Anyway, this is your video about are there Rangers in our company, and that will go out to Ahua with a hua. Yeah.